Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Stand by for a rant. I had to get this. Coffee. I have to make a correction to a series of statements I have made in the past, to information I have put out in my book, Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America, which has sold tens of thousands of copies. And because of that, I'm probably going to end up putting this video on YouTube, just letting you know, but you get to see it first. Until today, I have strongly supported scouting in the United States, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. And in my book, I said that everyone should look around and find a good Boy Scout or Girl Scout troop. I did caution that troops have their own personalities and you'd have to look around and find one, but that you needed to get your kids involved in scouting, and that you yourself as an adult needed to be involved in scouting as well, because it's a family activity. And I went and looked for my book so I could actually read what I wrote about it, but I'm taking it all back. I am changing my stance on scouting. I think you are a nutbird as a parent if you put your kids in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. Let me yell at my dog. Get away from there! What are you doing? Bad dog. Let's start with Girl Scouts, shall we? My wife was a troop leader, meaning the head adult leader of a group of girls for Girl Scouts. And it just became more and more and more a pain in the butt. Created by Girl Scout Association Corporation leadership to be an adult leader. Example. Well, let's go back to attitude first, because their attitude was they got away from the things Girl Scouts was founded on and the things girls wanted to learn, at least where we lived out in the country. The girls wanted to do outdoor stuff. Let's go on a hike. Let's do some nature observation. Let's, start fires and let's camp, right? Let's cook over a fire. They wanted to learn how to do those things. And Girl Scouts switched their whole deal to like some kind of feminist, let's save the world crap. And they made like requirements to do certain badges or whatever. And it was just all focused on that. And then the cookie sales were just outrageous. And, my wife could do a better job on this part than me, but I do know that the Girl Scout troops didn't get a whole lot of money for all the Girl Scout cookies they sold. And everyone thought that the cute little Girl Scout was, getting the money so they could buy camping equipment or something. Oh, heck no. They're going to go study some feminist and, do crazy things. So, a couple examples. They made it so difficult to go to any campsite other than a certified Girl Scout campsite. My wife wanted to take the girls camping to other campsites, like on Fort Leavenworth, pretty safe place, right? And they had to sign paperwork like this thick, fill out paperwork that thick, an inch thick, to go anywhere else other than a Girl Scout campsite. It was just ridiculous. My wife wanted to do a thing with the Girl Scouts one time where they would toss tomahawks, because Boy Scouts and Weeblos are like 10 years old. Boy Scouts are 11 to 17. They could toss tomahawks. Oh no, the girls were not allowed to toss tomahawks. And my wife did a joint camp out. I was a Boy Scout scoutmaster, the head adult of a troop. And we did a joint camp out one time. And we literally, this is how we did it. Because, you get boys and girls together and they're teens, what do you think's going to happen? The girls had a campsite about half a mile away on the other side of a gorge. And the boys were on the other side, about a half mile away. And we had taught the girls and the boys separately. My wife taught the girls. I had the boys taught semaphore flags, signaling with flags and stuff, and they signaled each other across the gorge. So that was kind of cool. We set that up, and then at night, I think we were out there 2 nights, and the adult leaders brought the girls to the Boy Scouts for supper and campfire stories one night, and then we took the boys over to the Girl Scout camp for supper and stories one night, and then escorted them all back, and made sure there was no hanky panky. The girls loved it because it was really camping, and they'd never done stuff like that before, and the boys thought it was cool because they're 15-year-old boys. And so that was good, but we had to keep them separate. I can't imagine every camp out, because now what's going on? Is Girl Scouts is going away because they're a useless organization. They're just horrible. And so the girls are leaving, and they're joining Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is now letting girls join. Why? When I was in Boy Scouts back in the 70s, I was a Boy Scout, they had this organization called Order of the Arrow. And Order of the Arrow was like an honor society for the really good campers and Boy Scouts. It was pretty cool. And I was in that. And when I was in Boy Scouts in the 70s, there were no women because it was Boy Scouts. And the purpose of Boy Scouts is to help raise up, to train young men to become men, right? And so you don't have women doing that. So fast forward, and I become my kids grow up. My son joins Cub Scouts. My wife was the den leader, and then I became an assistant pack master. For those of you interested in Scouts, which is like the assistant adult in charge of a fairly large Cub Scout organization. And then my son joined Weeblos, and I was a den leader, and then he joined Boy Scouts, and I was an assistant scoutmaster, and then I became a scoutmaster, and dun 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 dun. So I kind of followed my kid through, and my wife did the same thing with the girls. And when I got to Boy Scouts, there were women running around. There were female scoutmasters, like in charge of the troop. All right, boys, form up. I was appalled. I was like, oh, heck no. This is ridiculous. And then I found out why. The reason why is because men, you guys out there, are horrible at doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is being men and raising your boys to be men. And you're horrible men, probably not here on Patreon, but out there, you're horrible about getting women pregnant and walking away, and now she's left with a little boy to raise and doesn't have a clue. And how does a woman raise a little boy? She puts him on Ritalin because he's acting like a boy, running around fighting, farting, and getting dirty. And it's like, oh, God, we can't have that. So they put him on drugs. They try to calm him down. And then they think, well, let's put him in Boy Scouts. But guess what? There's no leadership in Boy Scouts. There's no adult volunteers anymore. And so when faced with the fact that this troop is going to go away if we don't have an adult decide to be the scoutmaster, some woman said, I'll do it. It's better than not having a troop. So whose fault is that? The woman's fault or the man's fault for letting that happen, for not stepping up? And then, of course, by the time I came around, there were those women who just really wanted to be in charge and dun 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 dun. Well, go be in charge of something else, but not a Boy Scout troop. And so when I became the scoutmaster of our troop, and scoutmasters are picked by what's called a council. It's like it's almost like a church council for the Boy Scout area, and they say, yep, you can be a scoutmaster for this troop. I said, all right, here's the deal though. No women are going camping, because they were letting moms go camping in the troop before I became the scoutmaster. I said, no women are going camping when we go camping. Not going to happen. It's only going to be men and boys out there. And some woman threw a fit. I said, nope. And so the council's looking at it, and I said, look, guys, it's simple. You can do what you want, but if I'm going to be your scoutmaster, that's my rule. And women can be on the council, that's fine, but they're not going on the activities with the boys. It's Boy Scouts. We're trying to make them men by giving them manly examples. I won. She lost. She was bitter. And I remember one camp out we went on, the boys, because it was a new thing, right? The women had been able to go on these campouts before, and they were all kind of pissy about it and, being passive aggressive. And so we went out on Friday, and on Saturday morning a mom shows up to the campsite. And the way I would set up the campsite, closest to the parking lot entrance would be the men camping, and then the boys would be camping by patrols deeper into the woods. So you had to go through the adult men before you could get to the boys. That's kind of what it was. And so this woman comes walking in and goes, "Hi guys," because the men are sitting around the fire drinking coffee, and keeps walking. I said, "Whoa, stop." "Well, I'm just going to see Bobby." I said, "No, you're not. Wait here." Oh, she didn't like that. And I called a Boy Scout over. I said, "Hey, go get Bobby. Tell him his mom's here." And she yells, "Bobby! Bobby! I brought your underwear!" Oh, she said Superman underwear. "I brought your Superman underwear!" She's hollering this in front of all these boys. Like, I think her son was like 13. Do you know how that made her son feel? When he's surrounded by other boys and mommy is coming. He's sitting over there telling fart jokes and stuff. I mean, they're 13, sitting around a fire burning pancakes for breakfast. And mommy shows up and says, "I brought your Superman underwear," for everybody to hear. So then he comes up and she goes, "Oh, look at you, you're dirty." And she pulls out a handkerchief and licks it and starts wiping his cheek with it. And I'm like, "Is that all you had to do? Drop that off? Okay, you need to go." And I made her go. And she walks away, and I'm like, this is exactly why we don't have women on campouts. And then when I left, I know I'm ranting, but I've got a lot of built up from that time. When I left being the scoutmaster after a couple years, the woman that was on the council came down and immediately became like an assistant scoutmaster and went to Philmont, which is a big adventure camp in New Mexico with the troop, and went on all the campouts, and mommy started coming on campouts again. I had one woman tell me, "You have to let me come on the campout. My son's going on it." I said, "No, I don't. His father," this is when it's brand new, I said, "his father is welcome to come." And the way we had it is me, the scoutmaster, the assistant scoutmasters, and any father who wanted to come on the campout could come on the campout. That's how it was. And she goes, "Well, he doesn't have a father." Other boys can bring their father, most didn't. He doesn't have a father. And I said, "Well, then that's exactly why you don't need to go on this campout, because you have him 24/7, and he needs to be around men and see what it's like to be around men." She didn't like that, but her boy kept coming. He ended up being an Eagle Scout and joining the Air Force as either a PJ or a SEER instructor, and I think it was a SEER instructor. I think he joined the Air Force as a survival instructor, which is, a really good job. So, he turned out okay. But yeah, so they're gonna just change Boy Scouts into some feminist crap. There's no way I'd put my son in Boy Scouts. No way. There's no way I'd put my girl in it either. I don't want my 16-year-old girl coming home pregnant from a campout. Are you kidding me? No. No. So what I suggest is maybe look at the old Boy Scout manuals. Maybe look at, and I'm talking 70s and before. Look at the old Girl Scout manuals, 70s and before, and maybe start your own organization. It doesn't have to be national to be fun. We would go to a couple things a year where people from the region would go. But the fun stuff was every month we went camping, no matter what the weather. If this was the weekend, I don't know if you can see this, you can certainly hear it. If this was the weekend and we were supposed to go camping and it was doing this, you know what we did? We went camping. We learned how to deal with it. Start your own organization. Start with your church, start with your neighborhood. Read the Boy Scout rules on adults camping with children. They've worked this out, or they did when I was doing it. It's the 2-person rule. Everyone has to be vetted. There's no way in heck, here, YouTube will not like this. There's no way in heck I'd let a homosexual adult come on the campout. Not happening. We don't need to hurt our children, right? Just set up a wholesome organization and take the kids camping. Come on. Teach them how to do stuff. Let them get a little dirty. Do a couple things that are a little dangerous. All right, that's my rant. I'm taking back encouraging people to let their children join Scouts. Don't do it. Do not. If your kids are in Scouts, you should yank them out and send the council a letter telling them why. Get together with the serious adults in your troop and start your own organization. Just keep doing the same stuff. It used to be that Eagle Scout or Gold Star, that's the Girl Scout equivalent, were highly valued for college scholarships. They're really not so much anymore. So the fact that your kid isn't getting Eagle Scout or Gold Star isn't really going to hurt them in that regard. And if you could write an essay about how, you know, I did all this stuff on my own anyway, that might even be more impressive. That's my advice. Get out of Scouts, start your own organization. All right, I'll see you out there.